I'm Victoria Cash. Thanks for calling the Lucky Land Hotline. If you feel like you do the same thing every day, press 1. If you're ready to have some serious fun for the chance to redeem some serious prizes, press 2. We heard you loud and clear. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com right now and play over 100 social casino-style games for free. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
104.7 The Cave. KKLH, Marshfield, Springfield. Broadcasting from the Lorenz Plumbing, Heating, and Air Studios. Your home for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
It's Ned Talk, your live and local Chiefs pregame show. Hosted by Ned Reynolds, Joe Western, and the B-Team. Proud members of the Chiefs Radio Network on 104.7 The Cave.
Yeah, we'll be part of the Chiefs Radio Network again this season, and our season gets underway on Saturday. It's here. Football. It's back. The Hall of Fame game yesterday, and then we had we've got our debut next Saturday, Ned. I'm looking forward to it. How about you?
Chiefs play the Jacksonville Jaguars down in Florida, and it's a Saturday evening game that kicks off at 7 o'clock our time, so our show is at 5 o'clock. We're always 2 hours ahead, and we'll preview that contest as well as doing the others, and that will take us away from Sunday, at least for a while. Anyway.
Yeah, I get Sunday afternoons back for a little bit, so I'm a little bit happy about that. So anyway, let's start out. Let's talk about the Olympics. We had 2 major Olympic medals today, and I'll give you a chance to talk about that.
Well, the sports, interestingly enough, in the Olympics kind of flies under the radar a little bit. In this country, they'd be very big deals. But first of all, we'll go to golf, and I'll tell you, this guy Scheffler is absolutely on the most incredible roll. He's number 1 golfer in the world, that's to begin with. He at one time was 8 strokes back in this competition. This is universal competition now. Internationally, some of the top stars in the game. And methodically, back he came. That's how he plays, just very methodical. He's not flashy, anything like that. Came back and wins the gold medal at 19 strokes under par. Just played a very steady round, managed to learn from his mistakes, and he beat Tommy Fleetwood by 1 stroke. Fleetwood gets the silver medal. But this is one that Scheffler deserves because he is really a top-notch golfer, and he is right at the peak of his career right now. He's only 27 years old. Looks older, but he is actually only 27.
Let me ask you this question. How do they do the golf in the Olympics? I've never seen it, and I don't know how that format's set up.
It's regular stroke play.
Just a tournament?
It's not team. It's individual.
It's just a tournament, though.
It's a tournament.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
It's not match play is what I'm saying.
Oh, no, it isn't match play at all. It's a stroke play tournament, and he won it. He birdies he parred the final hole, and Fleetwood came up with a bogey 1 hole behind. Now, all the big names are playing in this thing, and interestingly enough, most of them, while they represent other countries, play on the PGA Tour. Hideki Matsuyama and Rory McIlroy and people like this. There was one in there, a kid named Perez, who represented the country of France, who was right in there at the very end. And I thought, this is interesting. Perez doesn't play on the PGA Tour, played on the European Tour, and was a big star on the European Tour, but played college golf at New Mexico. Now, you talk about a culture shock there. New Mexico from France? I don't think so. Anyway, that's the golf gold medal and the tennis gold medal, and I love this. Novak Djokovic, that's the one particular item in his great career that he had not gotten, and he gets it on what is more than likely his final Olympic appearance. And he beats Carlos Alcaraz in straight sets by scores of 7-6, 7-6. All tiebreakers at the end. Now it's only two rounds in men's competition, or 2 matches, 2 sets. And he won it 2-0, and his celebration, I think, said it all.
Yeah, it was amazing to watch. I saw it this morning just after it happened that he went in tears, and it was genuine, and he went right up into the stands, and it was amazing. And reports of his demise are a little bit early, I would think.
Well, what's interesting is that he suffered a knee injury at the French Open in early June. And he had to undergo meniscus surgery, so they said, well, are you going to be back for the Olympics? I'm going to play in the Olympics. I will be in the Olympics. What about Wimbledon? Well, I don't know. That's only 3 weeks away. Well, he did go to Wimbledon and plays Alcaraz for the championship. That's the kind of determination of a champion, an individual whose makeup is that of, hey, I'm going to win every time out and work hard at doing it. And it isn't just athletics. You find that in every profession in the world. If you run into an individual who is motivated to that extent, more often than not, they're going to win.
You're listening to Ned Talk, your local live sports talk show. I'm Joe Weston, Ned Reynolds, Alex Scott with us today. Alec represents the B team. Josh Roberts is off philandering today. So let's talk about the Olympics a little bit further. I mean, there's a lot of storylines to go over here, Alec. Katie Ledecky, Simone Biles, the basketball. What's got your attention the most?
I mean, it's probably got to be Simone Biles in what is possibly her last Olympics, but she seems like she's made of iron. I don't know if it is or not. She continues to rack up. I believe she's tied the most gold medals with female gymnastics at this point. Katie Ledecky, on the other hand, has tied the most medals for a woman ever in the Olympic competition. One of the best moments to watch in the Olympics is when Katie Ledecky finishes and there's no one else on the screen. Yeah. You get to watch a solid 15 seconds of basically dead air of Katie Ledecky treading water, waiting for the competition to catch up and be like, who's going to get silver? So that's watching those two just dominate their craft has been fun. The storyline of the men's gymnastic team that won the men's all around that won a medal, and the guy who they brought in as the pommel horse specialist who he can solve a Rubik's Cube in under 15 seconds and looks a little nerdy. And then he sat throughout the entire competition. Then the pommel horse came up and he just crushes it. And the men see him get a medal for it.
They sure do. So, and it's their first medal in many years. So it's fun to see storylines like that play out. I'm excited for the track and field to be getting underway. The men's basketball team and the women's basketball team so far at this point have handled their business. So those are two gold medals that should happen for the United States. And U.S., last I checked, was not leading the gold medal count, but they were a double-digit lead on total medal count. They're coming on, and they will have a whole lot more gold medals now that track and field has become it is really into its vogue now this week, I should say. The U.S. men's basketball team is now into the knockout round, which means one loss and sayonara, you're out of there. They will play Brazil, and they play them at 2 o'clock, I think, on tomorrow afternoon. I beg your pardon, Tuesday. Well, I'll have to check. It's either Monday or Tuesday. It may be tomorrow. But regardless of that, they do play Brazil, and they get a bit of a break here because Brazil is not one of the great teams. And that doesn't mean they can't play. They have one current NBA player on the team and 5 former NBA players, and they're capable, but they're not really skilled as such, certainly not as skilled as the USA. So you assume, and assumptions are a bad thing to do in sports, you assume the USA will come through in this one, and then they'll play either France or, no, they won't either play either probably Serbia, and I don't know who they're playing in their semifinal, so to speak, round. But the fact of the matter is the USA has a good track if they continue to play well. Now, ever since the insertion of Kevin Durant into the lineup, they're a different team. He can shoot. The rest of the team, they're good shooters, but they're not great, except that LeBron James is the all-time greatest scorer in NBA history. But over and above that, from a perimeter, Kevin Durant is hard to stop.
Well, Steph Curry's on that team, too. Steph Curry.
He is having an off Olympics. He hasn't played well. I didn't realize this until looking him up the other day. He's 36 years old.
Yeah.
He's been around for a while, and I think it's catching up with him a little bit because while he has hit some threes that have brought down the house, he hasn't been the game breaker that you might think.
August 6th, that is Tuesday, will be the next
Tuesday
basketball game. Have you watched the games at all?
Mm-hmm. Watched all of them.
Yeah. And what do you think?
Well, the USA has a tendency to come out and slog through the opening portions of it. They're getting into the rhythm now, or the mindset now, where we better play 40 minutes. These games are 40 and not 48 minutes. We better play 40 minutes every time out because these players are capable. South Sudan is a great story. They're not going to win a medal, unfortunately, but a team that is really on the rise now. Very few of them are from South Sudan, but nonetheless, they can play the game. They're wonderfully coached. Lou Elding has done a great job of coaching that team. Fundamentally, they're right on the button. They gave the USA fits because of the way they play defense, and it's scrappy, fast, hardcore defense. They just don't quite have the physical strength. Yesterday, they played Serbia, and they had Serbia beaten except Nikola Jokic. Get all of them mixed up. Nikola Jokic just dominated once he got in there. They had nobody to handle him at all, and that makes a difference. It's a physical game anymore. It is not the the skilled. Oh, you can't touch anybody. That doesn't exist.
You can't fault them for not having a guy to handle Jokic, because most NBA teams don't have a guy who can handle him. He is a monster in and of himself. He's a one-man show. He can do, that size, that shooting ability, that passing ability. Props to South Sudan for hanging in there, because if the U.S. links up with them, he'll be a problem for them too.
It will be.
He's a problem for everybody.
Now, they have played, the USA did play Serbia, and one of the, good Lord, when I watched that, is this basketball? It's more like rugby out there. My goodness, everybody's pushing everybody else and grabbing them, but that's the way they play it, and so you adjust to the circumstances.
Who's the biggest challenge left in the field for the U.S. team?
Canada.
Yep.
Canada's the big one. Canada... That's what it is. That's the second game on Tuesday is Canada versus France. France is good. They have Wembanyama and they have Rudy Gobert, and they're a good team. But Canada has, I think it's 11 NBA players. The kid from Kentucky, Gilgeous-Alexander, he's on there. He's the Oklahoma Thunder's top player. Mm-hmm. And they have all these others who are Olympians. And they gave the USA fits in the exhibition game they played. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge.
Let's turn our attention, as you would say, on the old KY3 News, to the distaff side of things. I always remember you saying that last minute. What's that mean? He means the ladies' side. He's talking about that way. So the women's basketball team, they've really handled business too.
Well, the distaff side is the women. Do you know what the men's would be in that vernacular?
Misstaff side?
Oh, listen to that. You're in trouble now. No, the spear side is what it would be.
Oh, really?
But on the distaff side, they're a good team. In fact, if they lose a game, I would be shocked. They're just so much better. The one game that they did lose is probably the toughest game, and that was the first exhibition game, and one of the two against the All-Stars.
Yep, the WNBA All-Star matchup, yeah.
Beat them 117-109, and that was Caitlin Clark and her buddies on there, all of whom were a little miffed that they weren't chosen for the Olympic team.
There's a big pool of players to choose from in both the women's and the men's fields to go to the Olympics team, and you could argue that you could probably pick a B team of Olympians on either side that would go and win the gold medal.
I think, if there were a B team, a second team, they'd win it too.
Yeah, at least a shot. I mean, it's basically true every Olympics. When you look at just raw talent on the basketball teams, no one's got more than the United States has. That's just a fact. But do these guys play together? Or is it 5 dudes going out there playing hero ball, and then there's no synergy, there's no teamwork, and then you get a squad with guys who play like a team, and that's where the upsets can happen. So, if the U.S. goes out and handles their business, it should be gold every year for both men's and women's. It's just going to matter, can they lock it down? You just made
a great point, too, because that did happen. You're too young to remember that in 2004, when our USA team won the bronze, I think that year, but be that as it may, the star of the team was Allen Iverson. Give me the ball.
Yep.
And nobody else got the ball. And USA didn't win.
What sports are you looking for as we go into the final week of the Olympics other than basketball? Did they plan it to string the whole basketball tournament out over the 2-week period?
Well, no, you have to give them some time off. You have to give them, and after all, there are a number of nations involved in this, so each one of them has to have their days to practice and days to rest and so forth and so on. So, no, it's not strung out. But what is decided is when they play. And when they play has a lot to do with American television, because that's where the bulk of the audience is. So the USA will get what is allegedly prime time. It'll be 2 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. Well, that's 11 o'clock at night over in Paris or whatever it is. I think it's 10 or 11. And that's really a little bit on the late side to be playing a game. But for television purposes, it's mid-afternoon, and then they tape it, of course, and play it again at night.
Yep.
As you mentioned, the track and field starting, is that something of interest to you, Alex?
Yeah, that'll be the big one for me. I want to see Noah Lyles running the 1 and 2, see if he can lock in. I did want to go back a bit. We talked about what's happened so far. Shout out to Grant Fisher winning a bronze medal in the 10K. It was the United States' first medal in the event. I think it was 56 years. So a lot of heart shown there. So, yeah. Watching the track events, it's really fun. It's always, to me, the highlight of the Summer Olympics. I think there's a reason at this point in time it tends to go last. It's because it seems like, especially in America, what's captured our attention is they start off with swimming, then they go to gymnastics, and then they get to track and field, and they kind of try and hit those big three, where America tends to be pretty competitive. So, yeah, the track and field's going to be the fun one for me going forward.
How about the kid who won the shot put, Crozier? This is his third gold medal in the shot put, and probably his last, and that's pretty doggone good when you win a field event like that. And I don't think he set any world records, but nonetheless, one of the top shot putters in the world.
Obviously dominant in his field. You like that one?
Very good.
Oh, you
Joe.
like that
Very
one?
good.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about the Chiefs and their preseason game, and we'll give you a little update and tell you what's happening with the Chiefs right here on Ned Talk.
You're listening to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Chiefs Radio Network. Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Chiefs Radio Network.
Yes, we are a proud member of the Chiefs Radio Network, and we have our first Chiefs game. It's a preseason one. It happens on Saturday. Kickoff a little bit after 7 o'clock. The pregame show for the folks out of the Chiefs Radio Network will start at 6 o'clock, and we start at 5. Let's talk about stupid stuff first, Ned. Okay, you want to do that?
So you picked me.
Yeah, I was just going to look at you. Let's talk about stupid stuff. Did you see the NFL top 100 players? And the number one player,
is it Lamar Jackson?
Is not Lamar Jackson.
Nope, he was 2. I will say this is voted on by NFL players, so this was peers.
Assuming it's not Mahomes.
He was 4.
Who is number 1?
Tyreek Hill, as voted by his peers.
Is he really?
Yep.
Well, the players have done the voting, so there is obviously legitimacy to it, or at least I assume it's a popularity contest. I don't know.
And it's one of those weird things where Tyreek Hill is, I think Mahomes is too, but he is one of one. There is not that speed he has is a difference. I could see how that would set him apart amongst his peers. But I mean, I think the average Joe would all vote Patrick Mahomes as the top player in the NFL right now.
I would.
Who was 3?
So 2, I believe, was Jackson. 3...
Is it a wide receiver or a running back?
McCaffrey. Christian
McCaffrey.
That's
Yes.
right.
That's right.
I have no qualms with any of those guys being up that high, and once you get that point, you're splitting hairs. It was probably, I don't know how they set it off, if it's points or anything like that. I'm sure they were all razor-thin margin, but yeah, that was where Mahomes landed this year, was number 4.
And I'm curious as to what kind of a formula they use for determining the best player in the game.
Well, and it's a vote among your peers, and if you send a form to the Denver Broncos and say, who's the best player in the league? Like Mahomes, he's dead last. Hate that guy. So, what do you... So, like you said, there's a bit of popularity contest that's going into it, I'm sure, as well, where they would think some of these guys could be partial, but I probably couldn't. If you're a Chiefs player, I guess this is a bad example. If you're a Bills player, you're probably going to vote for Josh Allen ahead of Patrick Mahomes because you're backing your guy, even though the fan probably wouldn't. So I don't know who all gets polled, how many people they do, but that was where it landed this year.
What would be, though, and this is ignorance, what would be the formula for choosing, though, because here you have one guy who's a receiver and the other's a quarterback who has quarterbacked 2 straight Super Bowl teams and may have a third one, a guy who is considered to be the top QB. QB's the leader on the field, and he doesn't win?
Yep,
I don't understand that at all.
I think there's a little bit of jealousy that probably plays into some of these. You know, they do this in almost every sport, and you see that. You also have this overrated player list that comes out sometimes too, and you'll see guys on that list. You might see Patrick Mahomes in the top 10 in that list.
Overrated?
You
I don't think so.
see a guy like Josh Allen on that list. You might see Lamar Jackson on that list. You would see it all the time because I follow the baseball ones religiously, and you just go, come on, that guy's not overrated. There's no way. There's no way that you can overrate that guy. That's just being petty jealousy. But that's the fun of sports, is just being able to talk about it, have that debate and that argument. Now, on the other side of this, Ned, you probably don't know a whole lot about this, but it's kind of a big deal, the Madden ratings. And Mahomes got a 99, I think, for the fourth year in a row.
Something like that.
And that ties him with Tom Brady.
Yeah, everyone gets up in arms about Madden ratings too, just because it's kind of it's the same, it's the exact same argument. It's who's better than who, and there's no way that guy should have a higher rating than him, and that's the beauty of a sports conversation. Is rarely is there a right answer. Your opinion can be different from someone's and be just as valid.
Oh, yeah.
You can. The LeBron James versus Michael Jordan debate will never end, and it's mostly there's probably some sort of line of what year were you born. If you're born before that year, you think it's Michael Jordan. If you were born after that year, you think it's LeBron James. It's who you watched, and I think short of maybe Wayne Gretzky, it's hard to have an opinion that's 100% locked in. So the Madden ratings are the same thing. Everyone's going to be arguing about who's better, who's not, but it's opinion based. It's all and the stakes are zero. There's absolutely nothing. There's nothing going on, but it's fun, and that's why sports bring people together, because it's fun, low stakes. You can invest yourself in something that doesn't mean much in the big picture, but means everything in your short term. So.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I always find it interesting how wrapped up players and fans get in the Madden ratings and how important they are and how important the game has become all these years after it first premiered, John Madden's game.
There's one I want to call special attention to, and it's not in Madden, it's in the college football game. And I don't even remember his name, but he's a quarterback for some small school whose overall rating's probably 40 lower than the next lowest guy. So I don't know what this guy did to the ratings makers, but he offended them personally because they tanked him. I was like, he probably can't show his face on his campus anymore.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, football got underway last night, right? Was it last night? The Hall of Fame game?
Thursday
night. It was Thursday night. And it got underway. It got underway with virtually no publicity. I didn't even know about it.
I slept on that one too. And
it was won by the Chicago Bears in a game that didn't go all the way. I'm of the opinion the Hall of Fame exhibition game means absolutely nothing. But the one that it replaced, which was the College All-Star game. Now we're talking about a long time ago, almost 50 years ago, that the College All-Star game was played. Didn't mean anything either as far as the final result, except that it was a charity game, number one, at Soldier Field in Chicago, and number two, it gave the college all-stars a chance to play against the pros. Now, it ended because the team owners, who are something more than selfish, if you can get a drift out of that, decided they didn't want their top players being hurt in that game. And there were occasions when that did happen. After all, you're playing pros out there, and you're about to be a pro. But the game did have some legitimacy. It drew, in its final year, 55,000. It used to draw 90 and 95,000 to the Chicago Tribune charities. It did mean something. It'll never come back, I know that, but there's the difference. That was always the exhibition game that everybody played from there on. And it was a different era and a different time. It did mean a lot for the television folks because they had ABC, I think it was, had the full rights to that. And it was a good way in late summer, just as we are now, to, in fact, enjoy a little bit of football and get the old spark going. This Hall of Fame game doesn't do a thing. There's nobody playing in the thing. My goodness, it's just meaningless.
Well, the NFL's already cut one preseason game, and then they essentially give it back to two teams who have to play in the Hall of Fame game, so they don't play any one of, the guys that play in it probably means something because they're guys that are fighting for a roster spot. But for the viewer, if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you had that number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, and it's like, am I going to get to see him in the first? No. Absolutely not. He will not be out there. And the game even has a reputation. It's not specifically the game. The field has a reputation. That field has had issues so many times throughout the years where players don't feel safe playing on it. They're worried they're going to get hurt. And yet they keep rolling them out there, and they try and make it about kind of the game, but mostly celebrating the Hall of Famers. And to my mind, it's like you have a full ceremony 2 days later to put those guys in the Hall of Fame. There's your spotlight on your Hall of Famers. Why do you need the game at this point? It doesn't feel like it. They're probably going to keep doing it because there's a field there in Canton, and if not them, then who?
There's a TV contract on her too. That intercenter, but you're absolutely right. Baseball doesn't do it for their Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And so why should football? Oh. And again, it figures into the TV ratings at the time and what they're looking for. But they didn't even promote this one at all. I'm shocked at that because the NFL is the world champion in marketing.
And I worry about the NFL Hall of Fame itself, because the baseball one, while sometimes I feel like it can be extra stingy, that's probably gonna in the long run serve them better. I feel like in the NFL right now, it's getting to the point now where everyone who retired, they hit that 5-year mark, and if they were elite at any point in their career, they're starting to get into that Hall of Fame. I mean, this past one was Julius Peppers, Dwight Freeney, Andre Johnson, I believe, all in their first go, and all three were excellent players. But I think just on principle, MLB would have made those guys wait. They'd want to and maybe they get in at some point, but it's getting to the point now where the stats, especially on offense, are getting to the point where half the wide receivers I'm watching right now might go to the Hall of Fame because of the numbers.
And Alec, one of the alleged old timers, Randy Gradishar, and it wasn't all that many years that he was playing for the Denver Broncos, and a real good one too. Yeah, you're right. There's a little bit of a different criteria here.
He was a great player. I was surprised he wasn't.
Was a great
surprised
player.
He was not in the Hall of Fame when I saw him up there on the TV screen. So let's talk about the Chiefs for just a minute. So they're playing Jacksonville on Saturday, and what do you expect from this game? How many series? One series, you think?
Oh, maybe one for the veterans, and maybe Chris Jones none, because he's being bothered by a groin injury, which is nothing new. He didn't just sustain it; he's had that for years. But the fact of the matter remains that I think this is a big game for some of the youngsters, some of the rookies and the free agents who are there. This is a time for them to shine. It is the first of 3. They've got another one after this, and then the third one, virtually nobody plays in that one. But the fact is, I think it's a very big game for the younger players. But, yeah, I would agree, Joe. I think probably one series for Mahomes and company.
What do you think, Alec? Anything particular you're looking for out of this game?
Oh, I mean, this game's going to be a big one as they have to get their rosters cut down. In the end, you have to get to 53. Right now, they're probably still it's either in the 70s or 80s, I believe, at this point at camps and whatnot. So the game's going to be big for that. It's looking for the depth pieces. The starters might go a series, and however they do, it's no reason to. If the offense goes 3 and out, don't panic. If the defense gets marched down the field on, don't worry about it. It's the preseason. This is tune-up time. I'm interested to see teams playing around with the new kickoff rule. I think that's a big thing that's going to be. And ultimately, I think we're all going to get excited to watch it in preseason, and we're not going to see much because if you're a special teams coordinator, why show the stuff you've been working on in the preseason? They're going to hold back the special stuff. You're going to see them trying the basics. Just what's a straight return look like? No weird reverse pitch back to your guy, things like that, which I think we will see a lot of in the regular season. But seeing how teams acclimate to that is going to be probably the most interesting part of the whole preseason to me.
Interesting fact that occurred in the Chiefs training camp earlier this week. They had several injuries after, I think it was Monday or Tuesday's practice. And like Nick Bolton had to leave with an elbow injury and things like that. But amazing individual, Kadarius Toney, injured. An astonishing surprise. Hell, that's all the guy ever has been, is injured. Well, he had a little head-to-head meeting with the head coach. And the head coach said, all right, this is Andy Reid, of course, said, all right, you're injured. That's fine. You better show your backside up here for every one of these drills. Because apparently when he's been injured in the past, he hasn't shown up for them. That's part of your contract. But what it was, in a sense, was putting him on notice that he's endangered species. And he wasn't a contributor last year. In fact, it was something of a liability last year. Mm-hmm. Do you agree that he will be very fortunate to make the team?
Yeah, I mean, before we get into that, I saw one tweet from, I don't remember who was involved, but it was a Chiefs beat writer probably saying Kadarius Toney is being evaluated by the medical trainers, and someone just retweeted and said football is officially back. And I was like, that's your sign. So he has to be on thin ice. I know there were the offsides incident last year, the drops at the start of the season. You know, they won in spite of him, and he hardly played down the stretch. So, but that being said, I have to imagine the coaching staff has to watch some of those highlight plays when you get the ball in his hands, what he can do. He's probably the best guy on the team at that. It's just, can you get the ball in his hands and can he stay healthy?
And
so
can he hold it? Yeah.
If he can show that he's got his heart and head in the game, I would bet he's around. It's just going to be a matter of, another injury on top of this guy's whole history. It's going to be hard for him to overcome.
When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about baseball as we do Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave.
You're listening to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Chiefs Radio Network. Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Chiefs Radio Network.
Turn our attention to baseball. One of the highlights of the baseball season, I think, which has been kind of lately, is the trade deadline. What'd you think, Ned? Was it or was it exciting?
Well, I guess it depends on for what team you're concentrating your thought process. For the Cardinals, I thought they pulled off a pretty good one, getting Eric Fetty. I am curious about Tommy Pham being in there, but Eric Fetty coming over, and he didn't fare very well in his first outing, but I can understand that. It's a new circumstance for him. He has new teammates around, and Chicago scored 5 runs off him, and that's all they scored from there on in, even though the Cubs did win the game. But I think that's a good deal. That will help their pitching staff. What Tommy Pham is doing in there, it does surprise me a little bit, because here's a guy who has been, and I think I'm right on this, 5 teams in 7 years or 7 teams in 5 years. He's also a former Springfield Cardinal. That tells me something. Anyway, and I'm not going to get into the sociological aspects of that, but I'm very curious as to why he was included. Anyway, that's beside the point. Cardinals did well. I thought the Kansas City Royals did very well. Getting Sorensen in there, that's a big deal for them, and they're playing very, very well.
I've been very critical of the American League Central, and the best team in baseball is in the American League Central right now. We can officially say that the Cleveland Guardians, best team going right now. And they are holding the Minnesota Twins and the Royals at arm's distance with about a 5-6 game lead over both those teams. But everybody continues to play pretty well in that division. Guardians went 7-3 over the last 10 games. Same for the Twins and the Royals. It'll be interesting as they play each other again down the stretch a little bit to see how that plays out. This is where I'm going to not like the unbalanced schedule, because the unbalanced schedule gives you an opportunity to see teams going head-to-head and make a difference in a race over a weekend.
Hallelujah. I completely agree with you, and that's where the excitement really comes in. But, no, we're playing unbalanced, all teams playing everybody else, and that's the way the the commissioner who won't be new after 2029, thankfully, that's what he's decreed. And he'll decree a whole lot more before all this is over. I'm not in agreement with anything that he does.
Jack Flaherty made his debut for the Los Angeles Dodgers last night, pitched really well as they tore up the Oakland A's.
He's good. He's really, really good. That's a big deal to have him on the Dodgers now.
Well, it was interesting because my team was in the hunt for him, but backed off at the last second because they felt that he was damaged goods. So we'll see how it plays out.
Well, I guess you could say he is damaged goods, but so is Garrett Cole for that fact. And Cole comes back, and all of medicine now is so improved and so highly technical and skilled that I don't think it's fair to say somebody doesn't have it and can't come back. They're there, and they can do it. It sometimes, again, involves the motivation of that athlete.
I think it, sorry, I yawned there. Our conversation's so exciting that the host is yawning. What I was going to say is I think that when you're in a situation where you're going to have to give up at least one, possibly two top-level prospects, and a guy has had a history of injuries, that's where you're kind of drawing the line at as far as giving up that type of source or giving that type of asset to somebody else.
Well, you make a point, and that's you've got to give up something to get something. And I'll tell you, back to the Cardinals, I'm a little bit surprised that St. Louis didn't do something with Paul Goldschmidt, because Goldschmidt is a free agent at the end of the year. Now, that's not to say the Cardinals won't sign him again, but I can't see what now, Alec will probably disagree with this, but I can't see the wisdom in doing that. Yes, he has been hitting well in recent weeks, but gosh, he got off to such a woeful start, and his track record has continued to slide during the years, and he's he may already be 37 years old. Are you surprised, Alec, that something didn't happen with him?
I'm not, just because I don't think, you look at his numbers this year, and I would bet the market probably just wasn't moving. It's like, who wants Paul Goldschmidt? And no one raised their hand. It's just he's been down this year. He's been better. The defense has been good the whole time. Well, he's played his position well. He still fields the position well, and he's a solid veteran presence. But he has one of the biggest problems of the team this year is just him and Nolan Arenado, supposed to be the cornerstones of the offense, have not been that. I would welcome Goldschmidt back again next year, but I think you'd have to severely cut the amount of money that he's been making.
Oh, heavens, yes.
If you don't cut it, but just do what Wainwright was doing, 1 year at a time, 10, 12 million.
Do you think he would settle for something like that?
I think he might at this point. I mean, it would depend. I would think if you're smart, you can test the market because you are worth what people will pay you. So if someone wants to go give Paul Goldschmidt a 3-year, $50 million deal, I bet he'd go take it. But I also think he's probably interested in winning at this point. He spent so many years roughing it on a Diamondbacks team that was going nowhere, and we were supposed to be his opportunity, and we haven't panned out either. So I could even see him taking a respectable 1 or 2 year deal on a contending team and see how he could, because I think he could still contribute. He shows when he's right, his bat's still there, but he's getting up there in age. There's no doubt about that. And you look at some of these big contending teams, like Dodgers have Freddie Freeman. There's no place for him out there. Yankees first base situation, they got a guy that could field better than Goldschmidt.
They've got Rizzo, and they also have Ben Rice, who's a young guy that's been playing pretty well for them. I mean, he needs to come along, but I think he's a left-handed bat at Yankee Stadium. So.
I mean, then you got Atlanta's got that position shored up. There's just a lot of these teams that his services are becoming less and less valued. There was a time where it was. If you didn't think Paul Goldschmidt was the best first baseman in baseball, he was on your short list. And that's at times getting behind you. And I look down at the Cardinals farm system right now, and do we have something better ready to go?
Luken Baker, who is a long ball hitter and, of course, considerably younger than Goldschmidt, could look at him, but he is not the defensive steadying influence. Although Luken Baker can play, he's still not quite Paul Goldschmidt at first. But a big bat, whether or not they'd make a decision in his favor, I don't know.
And, that's the one feather in Goldschmidt's cap at this point is the defense is still there. Mm-hmm. He still plays he might not win it, but I think he still plays a Gold Glove level first base out in the field. And if he can play that, there's a place on most any team. Look at Michael Ciani for the Cardinals in center field. He hits all right, but that fielding is just absolutely been incredible. So he gets to keep playing.
And it has saved a place for him in the team, and you saw that when Tommy Edman got shipped out of there.
Yep. I was like, he has earned his spot by being a phenomenal center fielder, gold glove worthy. We'll see if he gets it, but he's played the defense to that level.
What is the deal? I have to ask you guys because you follow the Cardinals more closely than I do, but what is the deal with the Cardinals seem to have this plethora of outfielders in their farm system, which I hear these guys' names all the time, and then they, I guess, more or less bust.
Until we trade them, and then they win the ALCS MVP, whether it's Randy Arozarena or who is it in Texas, who's having a bit of a down year at this point.
Garcia.
Yeah.
Adolis Garcia.
Yeah, and so, I think there's something toxic going on in the Cardinals organization at the big league level, because I feel like for years we've seen you get those two guys, you get Steven Piscotty, you get Randall Grichuk, you get Dylan Carlsons, and there's just, this is going to be the guy, and then they hit their way. They're too good to be in Memphis, and they come up to the major leagues, and it just doesn't pan out. And then if we trade them, half of them excel from there. So I think there's a problem with the development, maybe not to say the development in the minor league system, but how that development continues once they reach the major league level.
That's a great point, Alec. That is a great point that you just uttered there, because it all begins down in the farm and what they are learning and how they are learning things, and guys who can excel at AA, maybe AAA, there is a difference regardless. And, yeah, I think you see that with some of these players who are coming up. And there may be some more who are going to be involved in this.
Well, I can't think about what's his name. I can't think of his name right now that got traded to the Yankees. And
Harrison Bader.
Harrison Bader.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a big deal with the Cardinals. Harrison Bader. And I hear the same thing. He's really good defensive baseball player, really, really good. You guys are going to like him. He's going to hit a few home runs for you. But they all seem like a little head casey to me. Like, they're, the Yankees obviously didn't want him. They traded him last year at the trade deadline when they were kind of in contention still.
Yeah.
And I think you're seeing that a lot with some of these guys coming out of the Cardinals organization. Same thing. I'm not nailing the Cardinals to the wall, because I'll do the same thing. The Dodgers always have the next big thing on their team. Jock Peterson a few years ago. I mean, he was the next big thing, and then I don't know where Jock Peterson's even playing.
He's out of baseball, or he's playing in Asia, one or the other. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it seems like there's some organizations that you raise an eyebrow and you go, what's going on there?
I think it's a fair criticism to levy at the Cardinals at this point, just because we've seen it continue to happen. And, it'd be one thing if they just fade. Bader being an example on the other side, where he has gone other places and it has continued to not come to fruition. He didn't get traded and become an ALCS MVP like some of these other guys. But, heck, add Tyler O'Neill as a guy who was in that list here recently. And now Tommy Edmonds, another one that's now gone out the door. And Jordan Walker got brought up to the majors with pretty good results last year and just fizzled out at the start of this year, where they had to send him down. And we haven't heard his name since.
Haven't seen him since.
And
what on earth? This is a guy who, in my opinion, has big league and all-star caliber physical talent. Now, he's a bright kid. He's very smart. His mom and dad are college professors, and he turned down a scholarship to Duke to get the number one draft choice money. But he hasn't been able somehow to meet the Cardinal standards. I'm afraid they're going to trade him, and somebody else will be able to generate the skills out of him.
And I hope that he's one they hang on to. He should have that non-starter by his name for any kind of trade conversation, as now like a Mason Wynn would.
Oh, yeah.
But that's been what's interesting is you look at, at the end of last year, Walker and Wynn were both up. Wynn was kind of on a tryout phase once the minor league season ended, and he looked like he was in over his head. And then over the summer, something clicked in both directions, and Walker looked lost, and Wynn looks like he's got great potential up at the major league level. He's hitting with a good average. He plays great defense, looking like he could be a staple in the Cardinals for years. So they got to get something figured out with getting these guys to continue to grow once they hit the major league level.
Quickly, what's the story with Nolan Gorman? He was the next big thing, too.
He can hit a ball real hard.
But he can't hit it consistently. That's just it. Does he have 19 homers, 20 homers?
He might lead the team in homers and probably strikeouts, too. When he connects, it flies, but that's the problem.
And his batting average is either just above or just below the Mendoza line.
Yeah, and you know what? That's become acceptable in baseball. There was a time
and it shouldn't be.
When batting below 200, you were gone. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave.
You're listening to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Chiefs Radio Network. Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Chiefs Radio Network.
So excited to have the Chiefs back on the radio airwaves this Saturday night. We'll be here at 5 o'clock for Ned Talk. Try to get the whole crew in here so we can do a real great roundtable debate about the Chiefs and their season and just everything we'll need to talk about.
So we need to discuss Mitch Holtis and Daniel Hughes being here, too, for the Chiefs rally that we had at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And that was fun. One of the individuals on our panel was there.
Yeah, that Josh Roberts. Are you throwing shade at me because I didn't go?
No. We all can't meet certain dates. Not at all. But not only Josh, but I think we'll have another one back, too.
Hopefully Jake Golab will be back with us next week. And I'm really excited for football to start again. I'm it's August doesn't seem quite right for football. I feel like that it's just not right. It's so hot. I'm not even thinking about football. But one of the things that football does so well is that there are storylines that go out through the season, off season, and they space them out really well so that football is always kind of back of mind. But they never really try to force you into just being football, 365 days out of the year. And so that when it comes back, you've got this real, I'm ready to watch some football, and I'm excited for the game.
It may not be 365, but it's 355. They're always in the storyline somehow. But, Joe, you're talking about the pros. The colleges have also begun their workouts now. In fact, the first of the, and it's a very minor beginning, but the first of the college football games is August the 24th. That's just coming up in 2 weeks. And I think the headline game, if I remember, is Florida State and Georgia Tech or somebody like that. But there are other games. Montana is playing. That's the team the Bears open with. I think they're on the agenda, too, for that week. But they all really begin at the end of this month, and that's significant. And that not just high schools, or not just colleges, I should say. The high schools are involved in that as well.
When did the Bears open up their season?
They are on a Thursday night, and I think it's August 31st, if I remember correctly. I don't have the calendar in front, but they open up. And we've talked about this before, but they open up in Missoula, Montana, and they are playing the runner-up to national champion, University of Montana Grizzlies. That's the Bears versus the Grizzlies that night. The Bears open their season with the runner-up to national champion and close the season with the national champion, South Dakota State.
Well, you talk about this in the show all the time. They play for their division. They're in the SEC of their division.
We're all of the opinion Missouri Valley Conference is certainly the SEC of 1AA. Now, this is the last year for the Bears in 1AA. They go to 1A, which is also known as FBS, and they begin that. I was talking with some friends the other day who are of the opinion, and never be proven, but are of the opinion that South Dakota State, North Dakota State, maybe Northern Iowa, all three would fare very well in this new conference the Bears are going to.
Yeah, I would agree
Conference
with that.
USA.
I would agree with that, too. All right, so, Ned, what is on the plan for your Sunday afternoon?
Well, normally it would be the chores, and it will be today, too, although I have a little family get-together to go to. But this will be one of the very rare Sundays that NR can see the Cardinals on TV, and they're on tonight. They play the Chicago Cubs, and that's the night game, and it's on a system that I do have.
Every time you say NR, I think of my speech coach from high school, Nida Rowe, because she signed everything NR.
Saw her last night as well. Yeah, she's doing fine.
She's an extraordinary individual. Alec, what about you? What do you got going on?
Working at our house. There's going to be no TV on because we have streaming, and I don't have internet. So this is when I cannot watch. So I have not been watching.
How does this work that you have streaming but no internet?
Well, if I had internet, then I could be streaming. But so we don't have cable, is what I should say. So our TV provider's through a streaming service. And
is the internet going to come in?
Yeah, we're working on it. We want to keep that fiber internet, but you got to get them out there to install it. And we're slowly trickling that appointment date up every day we can. So, but for now, no sports really watching going on for me.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad.
Just follow it on my phone.
Yeah, well,
follow it
yeah.
on the cell phone.
All right. We'll see you guys next Saturday night, 5 o'clock, Ned Talk. It is our pregame show right here on 104.7 The Cave. Thanks to Mike the intern, Brian Tyndall, Corbin Campbell, Nick Fury. See you guys Saturday.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.